Hi, it's Joe Mazumdar from Exploration Insights at the January 2023 edition of the Metals Investment Forum here in Vancouver. And with me right now, I've got the president, CEO, and co-founder of Western Alaska Minerals, Kit Mars. Kit?
Good to be here, Joe.
No
Thank
worries.
you.
Thank you for joining us. So Western Alaska Minerals is like a new company with respect to, being public, but it's been around for a while consolidating this district. And you and Joe Pekenbrook have been looking at this area for a while. So can you give us a bit of background about Western?
Yeah, and that's true. So as the predecessor company, Western Alaska Copper and Gold, we incorporated in 2010. My wife, Joan, and I actually staked and acquired the claims in 2008. And then we operated as a privately funded exploration company for about 12 years, 10, 11 years, raised $6-7 million US, focused primarily on our Round Top porphyry copper deposit in those years. But a little bit of background on Joe and I, we both bring 40 years experience in Alaska exploring. Joe's background has been with Placer Dome, Cominco. He was on the Pebble Discovery team, and then really made his name working with Rick Van Nieuwenhuizen at Nova Gold at Donlin, and took that from 1 million ounces to 30 million ounces, and it's been going up from there. And then also with the Galore Creek property in BC.
Right, yeah.
And then my background started years ago with a good Canadian company, since we're in Canada, Watts Griffith McEwitt, and was on the discovery team at Greens Creek, which is now operated by Hecla.
Right.
But spent about
in Alaska as well.
I'm sorry?
In Alaska.
In Alaska. And then spent about a decade with Anaconda Minerals Co, exploring all over the state. Ambler District, worked there about 4 years. And then in 1981, Anaconda formed a joint venture with Cook Inlet Region, one of the Alaska Native corporations. Had a lot of grassroots exploration throughout the state. And Illinois Creek, Round Top, the properties we're working on now, were grassroots discoveries in 1981. And then I was fortunate enough to be the first project geologist to run it. So we've had a familiarity with the project for, hate to say it, a long time.
So in my visit, what you do notice is, the open pit at Illinois Creek, the heap leaches, a bit of infrastructure, the airstrip. But really, the other project you mentioned, Round Top, which is a completely different sort of deposit. Yeah. Deposit style is further to the north. And what you're drilling right now, Water Pump Creek, is different as well.
Yeah, it's really is a true district. Two different segments. Round Top, you mentioned, for the geologist, 73 million year old hydrothermal system, and Illinois Creek, Water Pump Creek, is 113. Originally, the original discovery, Illinois Creek, is a totally oxidized deposit. Was mined in 1997 through about 2000 as really the first heap leach gold operation in Alaska, just prior to Fort Knox. And what was very interesting is once Anaconda closed as a company in 1985, the miners and engineers took over, and all the focus went to Illinois Creek to turn into a mine, and lost track of all the other deposits in the area, such as Round Top Honker, which is a low sulfidation, very high grade gold vein, and the early drilling at Water Pump Creek. So what Joe and I did is we come back and step back and look at the entire district, the properties. We've explored a number of targets around the open pit to better understand the system. Drilled a few holes up at Water Pump Creek in 2021, and on the 9th hole, 2109, hit 9.1 meters of very high grade lead zinc silver mineralization, over a half a kilo silver and 37% lead zinc. So we shifted our focus to the high grade from the very nice but lower grade oxide gold.
And with Water Pump Creek, I mean, there was some knowledge at the time with Anaconda that this existed, or the potential Yes. existed there, and they sort of had a rough inkling of what a CRD was and the base metal and silver. But like you said, people changed your focus to Illinois Creek. Right now, even though you're focused on Water Pump Creek, extending that resource or potential resource, we're still
Will be a resource.
Will be a resource sometime. You're also keeping your eyes wide open for the other potential deposits in the district.
Yeah,
Because
very
it is a
much.
big land package.
Very much so. We have 73,000 acres all on state of Alaska land, and our access route to the Yukon River is also all state of Alaska land. And that's a
So
whole
if
nother
we
story.
talk about state of Alaska land, what does that do for you with respect to permitting and that?
From a permitting standpoint, the state was originally a mining state. That's how the state finally came into being. And so a lot of knowledge about mining. Kennecott, of course, was the world's largest copper mine back in the 1920s. So they have a very unique, the way they view mining and exploration. So we have 5-year exploration permits. So we don't have to go back every single year. We can update our targets, drill sources, water sources. And it's it's a win-win situation.
Does that cover all the ground, or do you have separate?
We have a permit for Round Top, one for Honker, and one for Water Pump Creek.
Okay.
Yeah, Illinois Creek. So that gives us a lot of flexibility, a lot of continuity once we get the permit. We interact every year with the state, but you don't have to start over. So you save a lot of time and devote your interest on designing exploration programs and not filling out paperwork. So it's very good. We're also part of State of Alaska has what's called the Large Mine Permit Team that's run by the governor's office, and all the major producers that are now in production in Alaska came through that system. And through the governor's office, they bring all the agencies together and you work as a team for all your permits. So it's an excellent process.
So let's get into what made the biggest splash last year was Water Pump Creek. And so what are we looking at there?
Yeah. So this is a very, very high grade carbonate replacement, meaning the mineralization's in a carbonate rock, a dolomite. What is key to these, and our scientific technical advisor, Peter McGaugh, who's really the world's expert in this type of deposit, has come out for 2 years and helped us design a program. So what's very important is to know that these deposits in one dimension can be very, very long and continuous, up to 2, 3, 4 kilometers. So they're not just a single pod. And also the mineralization is both replacement of carbonates and structurally related. We have a number of structures that we identified this year through a very large resistivity geophysical program that's developed a number of other targets. And the key is now we can connect up Water Pump Creek with the Illinois Creek Oxide Gold as part of the same system. They're 6 kilometers apart. That entire district between them is really open for further exploration, and also some other structures. So I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll have another discovery in 2023 similar to Water Pump Creek, and just another one of these fingers of the carbonate replacement deposit.
So I spent some time at your technical presentation with that was sponsored by Agentis Capital.
Agentis, right?
Yeah, Agentis, sorry. During the AME roundup recently, and what Joe was talking about as well was the amount of geophysics and the reinterpretation of the past geophysics in terms of understanding the structure, the framework, not necessarily getting a drill target, but understanding what you're dealing with. So, is that going to be a big input into where you're drilling in 2023, or can you just keep stepping out like you are doing?
Well, we have a 2-pronged program designed for next year, and that's really will be the new focus. So we will have first of all, we own our own drill rigs. We have them keep them on site year round. We'll have 2 drill rigs, 7,500 meters focused on Water Pump Creek. One will be doing infill so we can drill to an inferred status, and then extending down dip. We created or delineated about a 400 meter by 50 to 75 meter wide and anywhere from 5 to 100 meter thick zone. It's about a million cubic yards. We hope to at least double that, if not more, with these 2 drill rigs. The other 2 will be focused on exploration along these feeder structures, and that was the key to our geophysical program. We're very fortunate to have Brock Bolin, who is now a consultant, but spent 15 years with Newmont and was their global chief geophysicist.
Yep.
Putting together all the aeromag, the gravity, won't go through all the long list, but we have a lot of data And we will be designing some state-of-the-art geophysical programs to do two things. One, look in detail to help define drill targets, and another one, continuing the big picture. And we think we have a potential porphyry source down deep somewhere into the south of the open pit, and we'll be looking for that also.
Right, and we're talking, like you mentioned at the outset, that one of these porphyry systems that's known, Round Top, is actually younger than the CRD system and the oxide gold system, suggesting that we might have two major heat engines here at two different times in this porphyry.
That's correct, and that really tells the story. We have a district, not just one deposit.
Right.
Multi-age mineralization is always great to have, and within Water Pump Creek, multi-phases of lead, zinc, silver mineralization is a very complex mineralizing event. And as Peter McGaugh says, complexity is your friend in these deposits. So,
okay. Well, just for the people that don't know Alaska Minerals well, Western Alaska Minerals well, what should they expect in terms of catalysts in 2023, in terms of news flow?
We'll be starting our drilling program hopefully by around May 1st. We can start early because we have a lot of infrastructure to get that's in place. We'll start with 2 drill rigs there, and then hopefully we'll be adding a third in June and a fourth later in June, and go to that larger program. Early drilling, we'll be doing some of the infill, so to help get to the inferred resource, and that's going to infill between some very good high-grade intercepts, so we should have some early good numbers. And then I think the other big catalyst will be following the structure, as Peter says, from the side street to Main Street to the highway.
And which is going to the south.
Once we go to the south down the highway, we hope to really expand Water Pump Creek and make a second discovery of similar mineralization within, say, 1 kilometer away from where we're drilling now.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kit.
Well, thank you, Joe. It's always a pleasure to be here and talk with you.
All right. Thank you. All right. That's Joe Mazumdar. I'm Joe Mazumdar, Exploration Insights at the Metals Investment Forum in Vancouver, the January 2023 edition. And we'll see you later. Thank you very much for joining us.